Hello Year 10. Whether you managed to make it into school over the last few weeks or not, I hope you find this video useful in informing your understanding of composite and inverse functions. If you haven't done so already, make sure you have read through the CGP revision guide page covering these topics, as I'm going to assume a lot of that knowledge. But I thought it would be useful for us to work through the questions that come at the bottom of that page. If f of x equals 5x minus 1, g of x equals 8 minus 2x, and h of x equals x squared plus 3, find, and then a bunch of different functions. So firstly, f of 4 is nice and straightforward. If f of x is 5x minus 1, then for f of 4, I just replace each of my x's with 4. So I'm doing f of 4 is equal to 5 times 4 minus 1, which is 20 minus 1, which is 19. Exactly the same approach for h of minus 2. So h of minus 2 is equal to, I replace the x with minus 2, so that's minus 2 squared plus 3. Minus 2 squared is 4 plus 3 is 7. Third is a composite function, g of f of x. I can write that slightly more helpfully as g of f of x. In other words, I do f of x first, and then I do g of that result. So in this case, that is g of, and then f of x is 5x minus 1. And just like before, when I knew x was equal to 4, I just replaced all my x's with 4. When I knew it was minus 2, I replaced all my x's with minus 2. Here, I'm going to replace all of my x's with 5x minus 1. So I have 8 minus 2 times 5x minus 1. That's 8 minus 2x, where x has become 5x minus 1. Because my function isn't of x anymore, it's of 5x minus 1. I then simplify, so that's 8 minus 2 times 5x is minus 10x, minus 2 times minus 1 is plus 2, and I get 10 subtract 10x. My next example, let's see if we can fit it in, is f of h of x. Same principle, so that's f of h of x. Always do h of x first, so that would be f of x squared plus 3. And then once again, I'm going to replace each of the x's in f of x with x squared plus 3. Because f of x is basically saying, if you put x in, you multiply it by 5 and then subtract 1. So if I put x squared plus 3 in, I multiply it by 5 and then subtract 1. Simplifying, that gives me 5x squared plus 15, subtract 1, 5x squared plus 14. And just mark that out. G of h of minus 3, and let's mark that as well. So exactly the same approach, but now I actually have a number, so that's g of h of minus 3, which is g of, and then h of minus 3 is minus 3 all squared plus 3, which is 9 plus 3, so that's equal to g, so I have 9 plus 3, so g of 12. And g of 12 is then 8 minus 2 times 12 is 8 subtract 24, which is negative 16. Finally, f minus 1 of x is your inverse function. That is, if I put a number in and I get some output, f minus 1 of x allows me to put the output in and find out what I'd entered into the function in the first place. So it's effectively the inverse operations. Now, the textbook talks about doing this in a slightly different way. It says, write x equal to f of y. So that's what I'm going to do. So that would be x is equal to 5y subtract 1. You may well have found that your teacher taught this in a slightly different way. I get people to write it as y equals 5x minus 1 and then swap the x's and the y's, because we want to be able to put an output in and find an input. Then rearrange to make y the subject. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. X plus 1 is equal to 5y. I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Y is equal to x plus 1 over 5. And then I'm going to replace y, because that's going to be my inverse function, with f minus 1 of x, x plus 1 over 5. Now let's say I wanted to check my answer. If I have f of 1, that's 5 minus 1, so 4. So f of 1 is 4. If I put 4 in here, I get 4 plus 1 over 5, 1. So I put 1 into f and get out 5. I put 5 into f minus 1 and get out 1. My function machine is running in the opposite direction. I hope that was all fairly useful to you. As always, please do ask questions of your teachers or of myself. using Google Classroom preferably, but email if you feel it's necessary. And good luck!